They never conquered anyone. They never forced schools to teach it. They never made it an official language outside their country. And yet Filipino is spoken in hospitals in the Middle East, on playgrounds in Canada, inside military bases, in homes across Japan, Korea, Guam, and the UAE. That shouldn't be possible. Languages don't spread like this. They spread through power, through empire, through policy. Filipino did none of that. So how did it end up everywhere? Here's the strange part. Most people who speak Filipino around the world don't remember learning it. They absorbed it. Through caregivers, through homes, through people who stayed. And that's why this isn't a story about language. It's a story about what happens when care travels farther than borders. Stay with me, because once you see how Filipino spread, you'll never hear it the same way again. Imagine arriving in a country far from home. Different rules, different culture, different rhythm. You expect to hear English, or Arabic, or Japanese, but then someone looks at you and says, "Kumusta po?" Not loudly, not proudly, just naturally. And something strange happens, because that phrase doesn't just mean hello. It means I see you, I respect you. You're safe here. And that moment, quiet, unplanned, is where this story really begins. Filipinos didn't spread their language through power. They spread it through presence. They didn't arrive as rulers. They arrived as caregivers, nurses, teachers, seafarers, construction workers, domestic helpers, church volunteers. They entered people's lives slowly. And when someone cooks your meals, cares for your children, sits with your parents in hospitals, prays beside your family, laughs with you after a long day, you don't just hear their language. You start living inside it. In many homes abroad, Filipino wasn't learned in classrooms. It was absorbed. A child hearing "Opo" before they understood respect, "Sand Dao Li Lang" before they understood patience, "U K Lang Yan" before they understood comfort. Those words stuck not because they were taught, but because they were felt. Filipino became a language of routine, of safety, of childhood. And childhood languages don't fade. Here's the part most people miss. Most people don't even realize they're learning Filipino, because Filipino doesn't arrive as a language. It arrives as care. It's the voice that calms a child before they understand words. The phrase you hear when you're scared, sick, or tired. The language you associate with safety long before identity. That's why Filipino spreads differently. It doesn't compete with other languages. It fills emotional gaps they leave behind. When English feels formal, Filipino feels warm. When other languages give instructions, Filipino gives reassurance. And once a language becomes the sound of comfort, it doesn't leave. You don't forget the words that held you together. Languages that dominate are remembered. Languages that care are kept. As Filipinos stayed longer, the language followed them outward. Hospitals noticed patients relaxed when they heard it. Businesses noticed trust came faster. Communities noticed connection felt easier. No government ordered it. No policy enforced it. Daily life did. Because language doesn't follow authority. It follows care. In some places, Filipino stopped feeling foreign entirely. On islands like Guam and the Northern Marianas, it blended into everyday life, spoken by neighbors, by classmates, by cousins and friends. At some point, no one remembers when it arrived. And when a language loses its foreignness, that's when it becomes permanent. Even in countries known for strong cultural boundaries, Filipino found its way in, not through dominance, through families. Children repeating phrases they heard at home, in churches, in friendships. They didn't study Filipino. They lived it. And then there are places you'd never expect, military bases. Foreign soldiers picking up Filipino during shared meals, shared jokes, shared hardship. Ta'ara, ayos lang. Ignat. Language becomes shorthand for trust. So why Filipino? Why this language? Because it carries something rare. It's respectful without distance, expressive without aggression, warm without demanding attention. It doesn't push its way into conversations. It opens them. Here's the truth most people miss. Filipino didn't spread because the Philippines is powerful. It spread because Filipinos are present, because they show up, because they care, because they stay long enough to matter. Most languages travel with flags. Filipino traveled with hands. Helping hands, caring hands, human hands. And that's why, far from home, in countries with different histories, different religions, different alphabets, you'll sometimes hear a phrase that doesn't seem to belong there, but somehow feels right. Kamusta po? Not announced, not explained, just spoken. And when it is, it doesn't just sound like Filipino. It sounds like someone saying, "You're not alone. You're welcome here. You matter." And that is how a language spreads, not through power, but through people.